lot of reason why we wanted to do this show. So to help encourage you to, pick it back up, that it's okay. You're all right. You're not by yourself. You're not the only one going through these things.
From Sarah Systems and Billy Go, this is No B.S. with Billy Stevens and Landon Brewer, the unfiltered, straight-shooting podcast that dives deep into the heart of home service trades to uncover the truth about running your business. You're entering the No B.S. zone with Billy and Landon.
Welcome to the show. Another episode of No B.S. with Billy and Landon. We really appreciate y'all joining us today. And today we have a really great topic that we want to talk about. Why do we fear change? And why does that change keep us from implementing positive things that could really help our business? And then on the flip side, why do we choose the things that we choose that don't really help us with the business? So we're gonna dissect that for y'all today. What do you think about this show? I think we can have a lot of fun with this one, Landon. What do you think about it?
I love it. I love it. Talking about fear, I fear, as we were just talking right before the show, I fear that, you got this perfect complexion, you got great lighting. I'm sitting here looking, pale as a ghost when I watch these things. You can tell who controls the budget for these shows. Like you got the whole bag, you got the producer in the room with you. I got a spare couch. You know, I get it. You need it a little bit more than I do, but come on now. We gotta like enhance the budget over here. Let's get real with the people. Let's share our innermost thoughts and feelings.
Let's do it.
What is something that is a major fear of yours? What do you fear?
Oh, I can't say. Oh, I'm supposed to say. All right, we're on the show. Oh man. See. You scared me
on
there.
The spot.
You kind of scared me there.
Be a counseling session.
See, I was fearful. You kind of scared me there. My gosh. Well,
so
what
do
I fear? Well, let's see. Well, when it pertains to my business, what do I fear? I'm an OCD guy. I like moving forward. And if I'm not moving forward, that's my fear, is that we're not always moving forward and doing better. We're not learning from today so we can implement tomorrow. That is, I guess, my fear. And then my management fear is that I feel that way. So really, for me, it's just basically, we're in a very gray industry, right? This is not a black and white industry. It is not by the book. It's not like building code. It's not like do everything exactly this way. There's a lot of gray world. Every call is different. Every situation is different. And so you have to be flexible. And so, if my fear is we get stagnant and we're not always evolving. I mean, really, that's where I'm at in my career.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's not a place that a lot of people are, right? In reality, I think deep down, people won't admit it, but they kind of fear evolving. They kind of fear change. That's why you see so many businesses stuck in the 1980s still in our space, and they don't evolve their pricing, and they don't, maybe they're still pen and paper. Maybe they haven't evolved their CRM, or maybe they're using the same old sales models. I think that's a huge one where, I've learned in business, like you have to constantly evolve, because if you're not growing, you're dying. And then if you're stagnant, that means you're actually dying and declining. And so I think people get these irrational fears. And I am one of those people. I'm like excessively conservative, cheap, compliance focused, because I fear that poof, one wrong move, it could be gone at any time. It's probably irrational, right? I fear that what I'm spending my time on is not the most valuable thing I can spend my time on. I think about that every day. And I'm like, well, am I doing this the right? And it's just like, I got that second guessing thing. But we were on our call today on our group meeting, and, a lot of this was being talked about, like there are a million podcasts out there now. This one's clearly the best, clearly the best podcast.
By far.
There are a million podcasts out there. There are a million groups out there. There are all kinds of organizations. There are Facebook groups, etc. And information is readily available. and we live in the information age. So you have all of the tools at your disposal through searching, networking, et cetera, to like make an impactful change in your business. You have a challenge with your business, you can present it to any one of us. And most people, the thing I love about the industry is that they're willing to help. People are willing to help and listen to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have all this information. Now, you got to have a filter because there's a lot of bad information and fake guru, all that BS out there, right? But there's information and tools that people have at their disposal that can help improve their business, lives, etc. So why don't they do it? And I think it really just comes back to fear.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of fear in change, but yet not changing is fearful to me and you, and a lot of contractors that have moved, that continue to move forward. I mean, they're out there, and overcoming that fear is a very vital part of running a successful business, an ever growing, ever changing landscape in the industry, especially in the last 10 years. I mean, I get it. There was no reason to really change a lot the last 40 years. It was what it was. But now with the way we go to market, the way we had Yellow Pages, we had to change to Google. I remember that. I was on Google 3 years without any real competition. Almost 3 years. Everybody was still fighting to be at the front of the Yellow Pages when I jumped out. And I jumped out completely. My rep came in, and I heard about this Google thing, and I did my research, and I was scared. I'll be honest with you, I was scared. You're talking about fearful. My fear was I'm going to tell him I'm not going to renew, and I'm going to lose my business. That was my fear at that time. Yeah. And that was extremely scary. But I grabbed my couple of my managers, and I said, okay, I'm scared. I'm just going to be honest with you. This guy's coming at 1:00 or whatever, what time it was, that he was going to show up, and I'm going to tell him we're out of the Yellow Pages. And I'm like, I need your vote of confidence here. And they're like, well, boss, you're crazy. And I'm like, well, I know, but I need you to tell me I'm not. So, so I told them.
That's a legitimate fear. I remember those days. And back in those days, I was working, with the SGI group and talking to contractors all day about, changing out their Yellow Pages from this, same ones that everyone else had to, a wordy page, or, the most common one that's still to this day an issue was, okay, well, you clearly, your overhead is this, your pricing is out of line. And you need to adjust your pricing, and you got to go from, $20 an hour to, $20 an hour. You got to go from $100 an hour to $350 an hour. And now those numbers are, way past that. But like, that was such a hard conversation, such a hard thing for me to get people to commit to and actually do. And it was transformational for most of those businesses. Mm-hmm. Even if you did nothing else, you just did that would transform your business. But everybody was afraid that they would lose their customers, that their employees wouldn't like it, that, the word would get out and people start shopping you around. And it was just such a difficult thing to do. But at the end of the day, it's just math, and it's business, and it has to be a certain way.
Well, what if you were still on Yellow Pages right now?
Yeah, I mean, it was remarkable. We got to a point where, as we would present our price books and stuff at the events, and tell people how they needed to start thinking about it. People like, oh, my customers are like, we already know the objections, employees, customers, etc. So we start handling the objections in the conversation. And I had the spreadsheet. I say, Billy, to go from 200 to 400, what percent of your customers do you think you're going to lose by doing that? And they would say, I don't know, 10, 20, 30%, and I would sit down and do the math based on their call volume and show them how they would make more profit, even if the worst thing happened. In reality, you never really lost anybody. If you did, it's a very small percentage, right? If you know what you're doing. But even if you did, you still make twice as much money running less calls. So why wouldn't you do it? And so they're with the facts and data staring them at the face, they're still scared to do it.
They are. And you can show them all the facts and data, and they still will wait. It's like they wait for enough other people to do it to make their decision, and then they're behind. Now it's catch up time. And instead of being, proactive, as an industry, seem to be reactive more so than proactive.
Yeah.
And we need to change the mindset to being proactive, with common sense. It's very important that you use common sense, or as I call it, my gut feeling. My gut tells me I should do this or whatever. So let's go back a little bit to that yellow page scenario, and let me just kind of tell you what was on the at risk here. I had finally gotten myself in pretty good position in the yellow pages after years and years of grinding it out, and slowly but surely I was getting myself up there where I needed to be and growing the business at the same time. And so when I was prepared to pull the rug out from under me and put the money in Google, that was very scary. Because I didn't have anyone to rely on to go, hey, you'll be okay, because no one knew. I was like the first guy to do it. And so he came in and he said his spiel, and he goes, I'm going to, you can have all these ads. It's only going to go up, whatever he said, 10% or whatever. And I said, well, I'll let him finish his story. And then I said, well, I've done a lot of thinking on this. I've done my research. I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to cancel all of my Yellow Pages ads. I told him all of them, or I'm going to cancel all of them. Well, he didn't even know how to respond to that. And his first reaction was, what? Like disbelief. Are you crazy? And I'm like, no, I don't think you understand. I know the science behind this. I don't know what I said. I was just trying to make sure that I didn't pass out. So he goes, well, let me get back with you. And he goes out in his truck, and I can see him on the phone talking the whole time in his car, and whatever he's driving. And he comes back in. He goes, I'll tell you what we'll do. He goes, I'll give you all the same ads that you have, and we'll discount them 30%. And I go, deal.
Yeah. I mean, that was an important date. Like, that was an important date on the calendar for contractors for years. It was like, oh, had the market on the calendar. When was the yellow page renewal date? So I didn't lose anything. And so when we started doing, like, even just changing and instructing people to reduce their yellow page presence and reallocate more money over, people would say, well, we've already agreed and this. And so I would say, well, do this, call your yellow page rep up, because there were actual people that went out and saw you that were representatives. It's like, could you imagine if Google had a Google representative that came to your office and said, hey, would you like to renew your ads for this season?
They actually did back then, by the way.
Yeah.
I had one.
Now you're showing your age. So I would instruct these people, though, to call up their rep and say, hey, is there time? I know that there's artwork involved and there's this time frame, but if I wanted to change it and go bigger and add more and add some more to my spend, is there time for me to do that? And what's the extension date that you'll give me on that? And then they would commit to doing that. And I'd say, now, great. If you're able to do that, then I can reduce it. And this is what I want you to do. And because people would call in to try and reduce, and they'd be like, no, you're past the deadline. And
yeah. Yeah. And so 1 year later, same guy comes in. He's been my rep forever, right? Same guy comes in 1 year later, and he sits down, and I say, well, this year it's for real. I'm canceling everything. And he's like, oh, no, you're not. He goes, I'm even prepared for you. We're willing to do a deal for you again. We'll give you an additional 30% off, and you can keep everything. And this year, that second year, I said no. I said, no, I'm out 100%. It worked so well in that 12 months that I was like,
you did the math.
Yeah, it was no reason to spend money on the yellow pages any longer. That 12-month told me everything I needed to know.
I mean, what you said, though, about the reactive versus proactive thing is probably, there's nothing more true about our industry and how we're looking at change, right? So, nobody's like, very few are like, hey, let's innovate, let's go out, let's do this, let's be a trendsetter, et cetera, right? Let's evolve the business and do that. Very, very few. Most of them only change and adapt because they've endured tremendous pain. They've run low on cash
Yep.
flow. Their labor is out of whack, and they just can't do it anymore. Like it's, they've got this employee that they know that they should have parted ways with 2 years ago, but now they've drained the company so much and forced so many people to quit that they finally have to deal with it instead of just doing what they know that they needed to do. Right. So
Exactly.
if you could just you could avoid so much pain by doing the things that you need, that you need to do up front, and just trusting your gut, and that, like, you get so much farther faster. I mean, I would say that it might be the number one difference, your ability to your change management and your ability to adapt and implement things in your business that might be the number one thing that expedites one contractor's success over another.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. That's, that whether, you might have a $2 million business today that, if you made the right moves, should be operating at 4 million. And the difference between the contractor that takes it there in 6 months versus 6 years is, one of them's kind of proactive and change and is aggressive at going after it. The other's like, going to wait until, it becomes too painful, and then they start making the moves.
Yep. And very reactive. And by then you're too late. Reacting is too late, no matter what. If it's a very short reactive time, it's still too late. You're late. And as fast as the world changes now, we have to be proactive. You just have to stay ahead of the curve. What worked yesterday isn't going to work today. I mean, that's kind of the world we're living in right now. It moves so quickly. I mean, just think of all the many things that have changed in our industry in 10 years. I mean, you couldn't even sell your business really for anything worth a dime 10 years ago. You couldn't scale across the country with ease 10 years ago. It was hard. You obviously you left Yellow Pages, you flat rate, from time and material, that changed. And just millions and millions of things have changed in 10 years' time, more so than the last 100 years. The last 10 years has been way more change than the last 100 years in our industry. And I just think it will pick up speed from here in all kinds of areas. Now, being proactive is a great thing to be if you're proactive with good decisions, common sense decisions, right? I mean, you can be proactive and just do yourself just another disservice. So that's where the fear comes from, right? Am I making the right move? And to be honest with anybody listening to this that owns a company or thinking about owning a company, you already made the biggest move you're ever going to make. Is actually this opening up your own business was the biggest move you're probably ever going to make. Now everything else is just a series of decisions after that. The majority of people in the United States don't open their own businesses up because of fear. And that is the entire system is built around owning your own business. All the advantages you get by owning your own businesses are built in for you. But yet, even with all that, and what I mean by that is, let's clarify what all those benefits are. Number one, you can take control of your life and create something from nothing. You can get all the tax advantages of owning your own business that you do not have as an employee. You have the opportunity to sock away lots of cash for retirement and for your future, maybe colleges for your kids, homes, cars, whatever it is that you're into. All these things are possible with a business, just like failure is, but are not really that possible if you don't ever start the business, because then you're just working for someone else that actually started a business. And so a lot of the fear of owning their own business, everybody wants to, but most, I would say the majority, 9 out of 10 people are too fearful to do it.
Well, that fear is grounded in something practical, though, right? I mean, if you look at the success statistics, say that 5 times fast. Success
You say
statistics
it once.
around around owning your own business, opening up a business. Most of these businesses fail. Most entrepreneurs fail. Right. So you have to be comfortable with failure, and you can't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you just got to be willing to fail over and over again and figure out how to fail upwards until you figure it out.
Yeah.
But, so a lot of it's grounded in reality. And, you got a lot of technicians that are out here with very low to no debt, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, having great jobs and
Mm-hmm.
way less stressful life. You're not having, an army of people and their families and counting on you to make sure you get the cash flow to make the payroll. It's a very stressful thing, and I would say most people are not cut out for it, and a lot of people find that out. Uh, so that's grounded in a practical thing. But if you've made the jump, in my opinion, why are you not being innovative? Why are you not being creative? Why are you not moving as fast as possible to the best of your knowledge? Right? I mean, I'm not talking about the fact, like you hear all this hype and this BS about these guys going from 0 to 40 million with no funding and greenfielding it and selling their business for good. It's all bullshit.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
not
all
true.
BS. It's not true. It's hype. It's internet stuff. Now, are there some that can do it faster than others? Are there some that can do it with the correct funding? Or there, because when you build that stuff without solid foundation, operational knowledge, and how to put the infrastructure together, it's just a house of cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bunch of rampant sales guys that you can't control, and no control mechanisms in place, and excess marketing spending, and probably some theft mixed in there. And that's not something that is sustainable. It's not and some of these PE firms that are buying these organizations have found that out.
Right.
So, don't again, there's a lot of information out there and there's a lot of hype out there. You need to have the ability to discern, what is real from what is incorrect. But if you hear practical knowledge about here's how you set up, infrastructure, here's how your overhead should look like, here's margins, here's efficiency, just practical stuff, and here's what you should expect, and talking about return on investment. If you're having those conversations, those are good conversations to have.
Mm-hmm.
We took a very innovative approach a couple of years ago, and on a 80-year-old business, got rid of an entire outside sales team, a very large outside sales team.
Wow.
And went from relatively small amount, maybe a few $1,000,000 a year sold over the phone, to 100% of our sales, in the hundreds of millions of dollars sold over the phone. And do you think that we just decided to wake up one day and say, "Oh, I don't like the salespeople"? Well, one or two of them did say that, but like, let's just get rid of that. No, we came up with we were like, okay, how can we provide better service for our customers? How can we make sure that every call got the attention it needed? Do we have the infrastructure from a call by call management perspective to do it? What's the margin elevation supposed to be? How are we going to put it together? We got everybody. It was a very well thought out, innovative thing that most people wouldn't just rip off a Band-Aid and do. Right. But it also accelerated us in the way that we thought it was going to be accelerating us.
Right. Yeah, that's the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to keep moving. Can't make it any simpler than that. Keep moving. So, like, for instance, let's talk about, something we should all be proactive on is pricing. Why is that? Just something as simple as pricing. Why is something like that such a reactive or never do anything about problem? I don't understand. Can you help me out with that one?
Well, I think there's two sides of it, right? The first side is the side that's your favorite topic of all time, like efficiency and how efficiently you're operating your business, right? And most people don't really have a solid grasp on that, right? Most people can kind of figure out by averaging out their overhead over the last, 12, 18 months and figuring out what their overhead is. Hopefully they've got, reasonable margin controls. But if you don't have any controls in place, and your business is going through these significant ups and downs, it's like, how do you put your finger on how you should be priced? You don't have any controls in place in your business. So, if your overhead's out of control, if you're paying people too much, if you have no payroll management infrastructure and that's going all over the place, it's just a swag. So you have to put that stuff together first. And then once you have that stuff together and you have a system for knowing how you should be priced, if your data tells you that it should be significantly higher than where you're at, I think that's where the fear sets in. That's where, am I going to lose customers? Am I going to lose employees? Are my competitors going to find out?
Yeah.
I think that's what happens.
I think pricing is a one-way street. I think people only think pricing is supposed to go up, so they don't do anything, right? And that has been the information in the past, because there's been no data to tell you if it's priced right, if it's up, if it should be down. If you lowered it 10%, would you sell more? Would you hit your margins because you're closing more? I mean, none of that data has really been available until recently, behind me right here. And so we only think there's one trigger to pull, which is up. Oh, if things aren't going well, I'm not making money, I must increase the price. It couldn't be further from the truth. And that's why you always hear me talking about efficiency. The efficiency that I'm talking about is how do we control pricing? By doing other work that needs to be done in the business to control pricing. Because if we were, let's just take a pack of cigarettes, something you just can't do without. Something you're an expert on.
I don't think I got the voice for it.
Like, just think about a pack of cigarettes. I don't know why I even brought up a pack of cigarettes, but it's a great way to talk about it right now. That's
from back. You were one of the original outsiders, right?
Yeah,
that
not
was
smoking.
cool. You roll the cigarettes up in your sleeve.
Oh yeah, and had them up in my sleeve there. Yeah. So let's just say I'm assuming a pack of cigarettes are around $7 or $8 a pack now, or $10 a pack. I have no idea. But my point that I'm trying to make is, it didn't cost them $6 or $7 to make that pack of cigarettes that they sell you for $10. That's what they're selling for. It costs them a penny or 2 pennies or 3 pennies. But yet they're selling it for $7, $8, $9, $10. Well, obviously, because there's tax on it, additional tax on it. There's a lesser audience, but even when there was a big audience, it didn't change anything. A pack of cigarettes still costs less than a nickel to make 20 cigarettes and put them in a box. Still costs a nickel, no matter what. But yet they knew their cost of running the business, and therefore they had to sell it for $3 or $4 or $5 a pack, even though their per pack cost to put the product together, the 10 cigarettes or 20 cigarettes in the box, was only a nickel or a dime or whatever it was. It wasn't much more than that, I promise you. And they realized that they still needed to make money. They needed to be at $3 or $4 a pack back then, or $10 a pack now, whatever, because of taxes, inflation, all that stuff. That's a long ways from a couple of cents. But they knew their costs of doing business, and they knew that they had to be at this price, and that price worked at whatever price they were at to sell as many cigarettes as they could sell. The volume was off the charts 20 years ago, right? They just couldn't keep them in the, they constantly were selling them. And the same thing is true with our industry. It's the opposite, where you buy an air conditioner, it's not 5 cents or 10 cents of the price. It's half of the price of what you're going to sell it for in most cases. So how do you make it 40% of the price? You have to do something. You can't change what you're paying for it. You can't. The manufacturer controls that. Your distributor controls that. you can only affect how much it costs you to go to market with that product. And no one's doing that. We're not thinking about how do we improve our side of the equation. If an air conditioner costs $2,500, $4,000, whatever it is you're buying, you can't do anything about it. Can't. So you need to be able to do something about the pricing of your product from where you can control it, which is your business side of it. So 50% of that cost is 50%. The other 50% is what it costs you to go to market or whatever, and you get what's left over. If you're not working on the efficiency side of the business, you're never going to get out of only going up in price. You're on that one-way street of going up at all times. If you use a national average price book, you're only going up. And so you're making it harder and harder to sell. You're making it harder and harder to be profitable because you're not selling as much as you used to sell. If you fix the business side of the equation, you can effectively lower your pricing, sell more product, make more money. And for too long,
or do both, right? I mean, that's where you can start making more of a windfall, and that's where, like, our profits as an industry have never been like cigarettes or like soda or any of these other industries that are, Coca-Cola's got record profitability, right? And it's like, what do they do except for give everybody diabetes? Yeah. So, why shouldn't we make similar profit margins? Well, we should. And if we do what you're doing, which is what you're suggesting, is like, let's get the business under control. Let's like maximize our efficiency. Let's get our costs in line. Let's, take all of those initiatives and get just a streamlined business. And at the same time, apply, upward pricing on that. Maybe our margins can get to a respectable amount.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's all about the margin. That's what's left over. Yeah.
The Fed, baby.
Yeah. Print that money. We need more. Just print more. There's a way to do it within your own business. You hear me say it all the time. There's enough money in your business already. You're just not getting it to the bottom line. And that's exactly what I'm speaking to right here. If I saved $100 on the equipment, if I could buy my equipment $100 cheaper than my competitors, is that going to make a difference? No. It's going to make a little bit, but not really. I had to go find, hundreds of dollars on my side of the equation. And, that's where the money's made. We're always trying to grow. We want to grow our businesses, which is what we should be doing. If you're not growing, you're not improving. But we grow at the cost of making money when we should be making money and allow the growth to come because you're making money, because you can reinvest back into the business. And we do it the opposite way. We try to grow with very slim margins, and then there's no money to help us when times get bad or slow down a little bit, or there's no money left for that, and there's no money to reinvest in the business. And the only way you're going to create money for slow times or reinvest in the business is get your house in order. It's the only way, because we're all selling the same thing. I don't care what brand you're selling. It's still the same thing. It's still an air conditioner, still a water heater.
Yeah, I mean, you can't outrun an inefficient business.
No,
and if you just think of it logically from a P&L standpoint, right? Everybody tries to outsell their, sales hides sins. I hear that all the time. It's just like, maybe temporarily, but think about it this way. If you're on, the more efficient, well-managed, well-priced side, you may be making a 50% gross margin, right? 50% gross margin. So that means, for every below that line, that means for every dollar of overhead costs that you're able to pull out, or for every dollar of inefficiency you're able to pull out, that's equivalent to $2 worth of sales. Mm-hmm. You follow my math?
Yeah.
So, like, why not just focus on the easy, the low-hanging fruit should be the inefficiency in the business.
Yeah. It's the only way to go. And if you don't have the tools to measure it, you're stuck in the mud. You're being reactive. And you got to have that tool to measure this efficiency stuff. And And so that's just the bottom line. You can't just assume that you're doing better. You have to measure it. You need good data. And if you don't have good data, I'm sorry, you don't have good data. So what are you going to do with bad data? Just what are you going to do with it? Just it's worthless. It's a bad commodity. Yeah. It's an FTX coin or whatever.
Well, I know you've coached a lot of people over the years, as I have as well, and had businesses. So you know, when you want to implement Sarah, or you want to implement call by call, or want to implement increase in pricing, or you have an employee that you've been hanging on to that should have been disciplined, dismissed, etc. Like when you have to make some of these choices that are going to be beneficial for your business, but somebody says to you, well, what if I might lose all my people because they don't like it. They feel like they're micromanaged, or, they're used to doing it this way. I just, that might lose people. Like, what do you say to that?
Well, so there's always more people to replace people. Always. I've been doing this 30 years. I lose guys, I win guys. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It always goes forward, right? Because we always create forward. Not everybody's going to like what you do, right? So those people don't work out, move on. And so if we focus everything on winning or losing employees, then we're entrapped by the employees, not by being free spirits and thinking about our business and moving our business forward, right? We want to take care of our employees and we want to do the best for our employees, but they come and go, and a lot of them stay. I've got many, many employees here, 20 plus years, throughout my career, still here, majority of them, and new employees as well that, we'll bring up, teach them how to do the trades, do all the stuff, and you win some, you lose some, and that's fine. That's just the ebb and flow of the business. What I find is a telltale question that I ask when a person is worried about that is the first question I ask: who makes the most money in the company? You, the owner, or someone out in the field? And inevitably, it's people out in the field are making more than the owner. And then I know a person that's stuck. That's a business that's stuck because they're doing everything they can to keep the business through the stress and the pressure of the employees, instead of creating a work environment that the cream always rises to the top, right? And that is why it's super important that we continue to educate and continue to be hiring. You always should be hiring. You should never be hiring in the summer only. You should be hiring always. And you can only hire always, going back to the pricing, if you have the funds to hire when it's not the season. If you're going to upgrade people and get out of that trap where the employees are making all the money and you're not, and that is the majority of the companies that I educate that are on my coaching, a lot of it, the people that you're teaching, we teach together. The majority of the time, that is the situation. If you really boil down to it, you hear, oh, I need more jobs, or, oh, if I could just find more techs, or if my revenue would just go to this, everything would be fine. But when you dig in, it ends up being the same thing. That owner isn't getting the revenue or getting their share of the revenue for the risk that they have taken. As an owner, you have taken all the risk. If debt doesn't get paid, guess who pays the price with bad credit? Just the owner, not those employees. Someone hits a car, someone gets hurt really bad. Who's on the line for that? The owner. But yet the owners treat themselves last in many, many of the cases. And we have to stop doing this. We can pay well and pay better than other people, but it doesn't always come down to pay. I mean, every year, every summer, there's AC companies out there offering the world, right? And technicians, unfortunately, don't think past the summer because they forget that when summer is over, that big offer no longer exists. There's no work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're doing when I hear that, it tells me, one, there's a leadership crisis in the business.
Right.
Two, that instead of doing what's the best thing for the business and all of the people that are stakeholders of the business, they value mediocrity
Mm-hmm.
and comfort and maybe in their minds peace more than elevating their business, which tells me you don't have the right person leading the business.
That's right.
So, I said this on a call this morning, and they like, oh, you should patent that. And I said, well, when it comes to fear of change and fear of making the decisions you want to make, whether it's pricing, employee issues, et cetera, it's like most people aren't honest with themselves. I think most people don't ask the question I opened you with, like, what are your fears? What are the things that hold you back? It's like, I hopefully you take an honest assessment of that. And everybody that's listening to this or watching this should do that. But I feel like if you've ever said, I can't get this in my market. Have you ever seen the Jeff Foxworthy thing? Like, you might be a redneck if.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you might have fear if. You might have a stagnant business if. You might be living in mediocrity if you've ever said any of these words.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get that in my market. My marketplace is different. What if I lose all of my techs? What if my techs don't like it? What if this doesn't work? What if this, if you've ever said any of those things, you're probably living in fear, probably have a mediocre business, and probably just don't have what it takes to take it to the next level and need to either figure out how to develop leadership within yourself or find it outside and bring it in.
Right. Absolutely. That's right. You have to be proactive. And you can't be fearful. You put yourself on the line for this business. So let's grab the bull by the horns. Let's go.
I mean, you had the confidence to go at it in the first place,
yeah,
right?
What happened?
You got to keep the confidence.
What happened along the way? I know what happens. You get beat down over the years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The stress of doing it just beats you down, and you lose the fight. In a lot of instances, and so that's a lot of reason why we wanted to do this show. So to help encourage you to pick it back up, that it's okay, you're all right, you're not by yourself, you're not the only one going through these things, these fear factors, if you will. Everyone has gone through everything at some point in their career. I'm in my point of the career where I don't let any of that stuff bother me at all. I mean, I'm past that. I'm just trying to pass this information along now. That's where I'm at in my career when it comes to running businesses, is I know how to run them. I know how to deal with the ebbs and flows. I get people to deal with them. Because I don't live in the weeds of day to day. And that's where a lot of these companies think they're, you hear, I only work a few hours a week, blah, 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 blah. They think that is like a badge of honor. But yet at the same time, they're fearful to do anything at the business. So they don't want to rock the boat, but they're not really living a relaxing life like they think they are, because the fear is just being ignored. And it goes back, and I say this quote all the time: the magic that you're looking for is in the work you're not willing to do. And we have to, get back to work. If things aren't right, you have to get back to work and start being proactive. And, it's just the way it goes. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Living in the weeds. That's one thing that I've learned. For years, I just lived in the weeds of the businesses and, tried to be a part of every aspect of it. And I didn't get in anybody's way, but I let business at the local level kind of consume me. Right. And it just beats you down, because every day something happens it beats you down. And I didn't have any stuff in my office. I just had a little sign that I wrote on DDSS. It stood for don't do stupid shit. That's always just like every day, it just happens. So I just point to it, like, look what you did. You violated rule number 1. But that stuff beats you down.
It does.
It beats you down. And now I've just kind of learned it's almost like I feel bad for it, but it's like the craziness, the chaos, the stuff that can ensue in business. You just got to it's coming at you. You just got to address it quickly, empower other people to make decisions, whether they make good decisions, bad decisions. And you just got to stack more wins than losses and be okay with all of the craziness that's going to come about. And you develop a certain confidence with that, right? It's the same
Mm-hmm.
confidence that when you had confidence when you went in business and you've just been beaten up so much, you develop some more confidence. You get some wins, you have some losses, you learn from the
Mm-hmm.
failures, but you build confidence. But now I see out there, there's arrogance, and there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, right? The arrogance that you see out there, the people and flashing on social media, right? The people that have 5 years experience and think that they're God's gift, right? That arrogance is built. It's built from a solid place. Usually, it's built on talent. I'm a talented salesperson. I'm talented at recruiting. I got certain talents, and that talents leads to a certain level of success, which becomes arrogance. And if you have the difference between arrogance and confidence is that confidence is built on an extended series of like, okay, failure, success, failure, success, failure, success. You got some talent thrown in there. Like it's just built on having that experience and knowledge and a little bit of discernment and knowing that you're going to go in and make the right choices. And if you don't make the right choices, you're going to be okay with it too.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's going to be fine, but you're still going to go in and work to grow it tomorrow and the next day, and you're never going to give up. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what confidence is. Arrogance is something altogether different.
All totally different. Yeah. Confidence is not arrogance. Well, awesome. You brought up call by call, and you've become the expert in call by call. And by all rights, you deserve that title because you guys really have pioneered call by call in your career. And we've heard the story in other podcasts that we've done together of how that came about. And so how do you get over the fear of implementing that? How do you tell people to implement? How do you get them over the fear of call by call? Or, the micromanaging side of it?
Yeah, there's a few things about it because I've executed it in some ways maybe flawlessly, in other ways terribly. After we had a whole bunch of success with it, I thought, wow, this is just great. Everybody loves it. The technicians are asking for it. They want to be part of it. And they're all making more money and they're just so happy. And we just said, hey, guess what, guys? We're doing this everywhere. And everybody else is like, no, we're not. you know? And so I was like, going to the manager, like, how the hell did you roll this out? Like, what did you do? Just like say corporate's forcing us to do this. And, I'm with you. Like, how could roll out be so bad? So I've had both experiences. And the one thing I could say about the keys to successful implementation of a call by call structure, yeah, it could be perceived as micromanagement. When the quarterback coach is in your ear and helping you call plays, and the head coach or offensive line coach is like calling plays out for you, like, do you ever see like in the NFL and like, screw you guys, stop micromanaging me, let me play by myself? No, that's not how it works, right? The most elite athletes in the world all have coaches.
That's right.
And the purpose of those coaches, whether you're baseball, football, like, it's to make you better at your specific position, at your role, make you more money, make you more successful, et cetera, right? And so if you have a solid leadership team in place, it's just kind of a natural progression of what we do. Number two, you talk about the benefit of customer service, a unified experience, and all those things. And number three, you just talk about Coca-Cola. You talk about how Coca-Cola makes 25 cents in every dollar, and the way that and why they do that, right? And don't you think that we should make more than that? Don't you think that you should have a better life, that our customers should have better service? So let's get you involved and let's design the perfect service call protocol. Does everybody agree that these are the steps to take care of customers perfectly, to have the best results? Anybody else? What else are we missing, right? Get that buy-in. Okay, great. This is the standard how we at ABC Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electrical are going to service our customers. And now we have somebody here that's going to help quarterback that process and make sure there's a seamless transition that happens every single time. Who can argue with that, right? And so it's just a way of like how you gain the buy-in and roll it out. It's like anything else. If you got to, whether it's call by call, pricing, etc., like if you're a solid leader and they know that you're going to work for them every day and you're out there to make their life better, make a better business, better customer service experience, etc., they're going to trust you through this, just like they've trusted you in everything else they've done so far.
Yep. Good analogy. Way to go, buddy.
But if you just say, "Hey, I heard a guru say this, so we're doing it," buckle up. Probably going to have some
It's
resistance.
gonna go terrible. Because it's a big change. It's a commitment. It is a commitment. But once a commitment's made, it makes a difference. It can work if you implement it properly, right? You can't fly by the seat of your pants every day, change every day. New adventure. New venture each day, each week. Focus.
In every business, at some point, call by call was already happening. Before we put a name to it, et cetera. At some point, it was happening. When you were a one-man show, you were doing it by yourself. When you hired your first employee, you looked over their shoulder and made sure that, because you can't make payroll if they don't generate revenue. So you're making sure that something's happening, right? Like at every point along every one of these business, call by call was happening. What happens is most companies get away from it. We're just coming back to it.
Yeah. Excellent. Wow, this is a very, very good show. I mean, the hour went by really fast here. I'm hoping that the nuggets that we're dropping today are really helping people navigate their decisions, and hopefully you're seeing that, fear is a good thing. We need to be fearful at all times, and, in a good way, right?
But you can't let it control you.
But you can't let it control you. That's exactly right. We have to keep moving forward and use common sense and think through things as we make change so that we're not making, because I think a lot of fear gets built up over the years because the changes that we made were the wrong decisions because we didn't really have enough information to implement, or we didn't follow through. We didn't keep pushing it through. We gave up. Something happened, bad day, whatever. Something derails you, and then you're off of it, and then your team loses. Then it becomes, oh, boss got another idea. Just show some resistance, and it'll go away. I think that a lot of that happens in a lot of companies, and so that's what we need to stop. We need to just, at the end of the day, we got to get leadership. We got to get the leadership back. You need to take it back. You need to take the leadership back.
Well. That's it. What is the old acronym? They say fear stands. You can look at fear two ways. FEAR, face everything and run, or face everything and rise.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly right.
You can run, you can rise.
That's right. There's only one way, in my opinion. Let's rise up, baby.
There you go.
Well, awesome. I want to thank everybody for listening to this show today. We really appreciate y'all listening. We have over 20,000 views on this short time that we've been doing this. Landon, what do you think about that? 20,000 views.
That is more than your OnlyFans.
If I had one only, if I only had one OnlyFan, I'd be happy.
Billy, I don't mean to disparage this, but my feet get more of that than that on a weekly basis. Hey, you got to find interesting ways to make money when you're
there. You
retired.
go. There you go. Foot model. That's Landon. We'll see it in his bio one day. Professional foot model. Well, with that note, we better go. This could only go downhill from here. So everybody out there, thank you again for watching or listening to this podcast. We really appreciate it, and we really, really appreciate the support. This thing is really taking off. We love all the messages that we get from our OnlyFans for this show that we receive on a daily basis, Messenger and text messaging and all the different ways that we're receiving all this support. We're doing this for the industry. We were just two guys trying to give back with some clarity is really what we're trying to do. And with that, sir, your closing statement.
Everybody remember to like and subscribe. Oh, and by the way, if you got subject matter, topics, questions, anything that you'd like to hear discussed or have answered, feel free, put it in the comments, and we'll get to that. I've never seen it, but supposedly Tim gets a whole bunch of that stuff and forwards it to us. So put any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to see Billy's feet, maybe Maybe he'll put it up there. Like and subscribe, but, comment on anything that you want to hear.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Next time.
See ya.
No B.S. with Billy and Landon is produced and delivered to you by Sarah Systems. At Sarah Systems, we've created a better way to run your home service business and unlock unprecedented growth. Our field service software was designed by real home service professionals to help you save steps, charge for previously unbillable time, and win more business. But the true change requires more than software. Our live coaching helps you understand and control the aspects of your business that matter most. It's about time for a new era of service, and we're leading the way. If you're ready to join the hundreds of other contractors who've been able to increase profit margins more than 50% within 6 months, visit Sarah.tech today. That's Sarah, SERA.tech today.